Your car, your way, every day. I-75 exit 20, 1 mile east. Hope to see you soon.
This weather forecast is brought to you by Whirlpool.
Thank you for choosing Whirlpool, where we are committed to being the best global kitchen and laundry company in constant pursuit of improving life at home. For more information on Whirlpool, please visit whirlpool.com.
Aubrey's Real Comfort, Real Food, Real Good, making it a little more special with in-house fresh ingredients. Today's specials are prime rib all day long, Aubrey's Cleveland, Real Comfort, Real Food, Real Good.
This is Thomas Williams with Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. Stop by today and take advantage of Bradley County's largest pre-owned inventory, or visit cleveland-nissan.com, home of the lifetime warranty.
Hey, Andy Morris here. Join me along with my co-host on The Drive, presented by Hardees, weekdays at 5 p.m. on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Cleveland and Bradley County's local sports show, weekdays at 5 on ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
From the Kia of Cleveland Studios, this is ESPN Cleveland 101.3, WCLE HD2 Cleveland, W267BI Cleveland, ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
The top of the hour is presented by Best Buy Metals, making the top of your house the best it can be. Visit bestbuymetalroofing.com.
It's time for The Drive on ESPN Cleveland 101.3, presented by Hardees. We will bring you nonstop sports news from the national and local scene and everything in between. So buckle up and join in on the conversation. It's The Drive.
Don't take no style. Got a thirst for killing. Think about it. Woo!
Uh-oh, Jim. It's Friday, baby. Friday here on The Drive, April 25th. And we're excited because we've got a lot to talk about with the NFL draft going on last night, the first round. Yeah, listen to a little George Jones right there, though, just to get you warmed up for the show.
Yep, George Jones, the late, great George Jones.
The possum.
Yep.
It's finally Friday. I'm free again. I got my motor running for a wild weekend.
And Jim, I think it is going to be a wild weekend, especially in this NFL draft, because we talked about it on the show yesterday. One of the first things you said when we started talking about the draft when we walked in the studio today was, well, we were right. Shedeur dropped out of the first round.
I mean, that guy, there were so many things being talked about with him. Now, obviously, Mel Kiper just absolutely loves this guy. And he was just going on and on about why he needs to be picked. He needs to be picked. And, you know, obviously, you got some teams out there that are drafting. They don't need a quarterback. They're set at quarterback. So we knew where he wasn't going to go. But then, you know, when the Steelers picked at number 21 and they passed him, I thought right then, I said, this guy may not go in the first round. And sure enough, he didn't. Now, I thought that maybe somebody might trade up to get him, but it didn't happen. And, boy, listen, I feel bad when I see these videos of these guys and they're anticipating getting their name, you know, selected, and they keep getting passed over. I start to feel bad for them.
Yeah, same here.
And so, I mean, but, you know, honestly, to give him some credit, he said, you know what, it didn't happen like we thought, but, you know, this is getting a lot of fire under me, and he's going to get drafted early on tonight, I'm sure. And
I hope you're right. And I hope it's the first one.
And I think that whoever gets him, which is probably going to be Cleveland, I think they're going to get a pretty good quarterback out of this guy. So it is what it is, and but it was shocking in a way. But in another way, I'm like, yeah, there are some people that thought this might happen.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily a shot at Shedeur Sanders that he wasn't drafted. Now, was it a little bit of a surprise that Jackson Dart from Ole Miss went ahead of him? That to me was a surprise. But they say that the Giants were so high on Dart because of the way he fit their offense. Shedeur might not have been the guy for their scheme, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that necessarily Dart's that much better than Shedeur.
Well, and here's the thing about quarterbacks. I mean, obviously, I think the Giants probably thought that Shedeur Sanders would be drafted. So they're like, we're not going to waste our time evaluating him because we think he's going to be off the board. And they put all their chips in with Jackson Dart. And then when they had their opportunity to select either Jackson Dart or Shedeur Sanders, they're like, we've put so much resource into evaluating Jackson Dart. We just think that he's a better fit for us. And he may be a better quarterback. But the thing about these quarterbacks, Andy, is you don't know who's going to be the better NFL player until several years into it. You can't go off what's going to happen in 2025 or 2026. We've seen guys that are late bloomers that have come on strong several years into their career. And then, listen, there's going to be a lot of people going, well, I told you he was better. I'm told you he's better next year. I'm like, you don't know this. Give it some time to play out, and then you evaluate who was the better prospect several years into it.
And to that point, it's easy for one of these teams to take Shedeur or to take Jackson Dart or whoever it is that doesn't, if it's not a good fit, it's easy for one of these teams to draft them and ruin them. We've seen Cleveland do it for years. Cleveland is the place where quarterbacks go to die. I'm saying that as a Browns fan. I've watched them ruin quarterbacks that they draft. Sometimes when it's the right situation, a la Atlanta Falcons last year, they get Kirk Cousins. Everyone's fired up about Kirk Cochain's coming to Atlanta. And then they draft Michael Penix Jr. with their first pick last year. And people are like, what in the world? We all thought they were stupid. On this show, I openly was like, why would they do that? What? And it turned out to be the smartest thing. And everyone's saying, oh, well, that worked out great. Well, obviously someone in Atlanta knows what they're doing. And that way Michael Penix was able to learn the system and not get thrown to the wolves. That's the term that I've used a lot here the past few days about specifically quarterbacks not being put in a situation where they're going to struggle or where they're going to come in and say, listen, you're either going to swim or you're going to drown. That's not – the NFL's got a problem with that right now. But there are the select few franchises that seem like they've kind of been handling that better as of recent. And I do hope tonight – listen, I'm excited as a guy that follows the Titans, follows the Falcons with the draft that they had, the first round that they had last night. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. But as a Browns fan also – I'm excited about the opportunity for them to draft Shedeur Sanders, who easily could have been the second quarterback off the board, who easily could have been a first rounder. I don't think it's necessarily a reflection of his potential, but I do think it could be an attitude thing. It could be a presentation thing, or as you even said, a lack of showing up to put your talents on display. I think some of those things could factor in, and this might humble him. And I loved that you brought up the fact of him saying, he came out and he did that video saying that, hey, this is all right. It just means I'm going to work harder. It fires me up even. I think he's handled it with grace.
He has. And, quarterbacks is that one position, Andy, that you were always going to lump guys together forever. Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud are always going to be linked together. One was number one was number two. And obviously C.J. Stroud had the faster start to his career, but you don't know what Bryce Young could do 6-7 years down the road. He may be the better guy. Last year, Caleb Williams, number one pick. Two was Jaden Daniels. Daniels had the better year last year. But we don't know that that's going to be the case for his entire career. So guys are linked together. I fully believe that Jackson Dart and Shedeur Sanders are going to be compared against each other because one guy was drafted ahead of the other shockingly.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are going to go, well, let's just follow these two. And obviously you got to look at Cam Ward. So these quarterbacks, anytime there's a quarterback of 2, 3, 4 guys, they're always linked together for the rest of their careers, whether they like it or not. John Elway and Dan Marino were constantly compared against each other. Marino had the better stats career-wise, but John Elway has 2 Super Bowl rings that Dan Marino never got. So who do you think is the better quarterback? It just depends on what category you want to look at. You want to look at just statistically? Dan Marino. If you want to look at championships, It's John Elway.
Yeah.
And then you had guys in between, like a Todd Blackledge, who kind of fizzled out. So you had other guys in that class of 83. And you've always had, like last year, we had a lot of quarterbacks drafted. We've got, what's the guy's name in New England from North Carolina? He's always going to be lumped into that class as well with the Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. So you're always going to have these guys that are going to be lumped together.
Drake May.
So you're always going to have these guys that are going to be lumped together because they were drafted in the same year, and whether they like it or not, that's just the way it is. And I think it's going to be fun to watch these guys that are drafted this year and how they're all going to be linked together for 7, 8, 10, 15 years. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, so just to recap, obviously the NFL draft is going on tonight as well. Rounds 2 and 3 are going to be live from Green Bay at historic Lambeau Field, which, by the way, I thought was a pretty cool setup they had.
Was.
And everyone looked really cold. So they haven't quite got the heat wave up there yet. But, it was a great atmosphere. And I was a little disappointed in myself last night, and I'm going to tell you why. So I tuned in. Obviously I was listening on the radio here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3 to our pre-draft coverage and everything that we have going on. And when I got home, I rushed into the house on 2 crutches and sat down. And the first thing I did was turn it to ESPN. I watched probably the first, 18, 19, 20 picks on ESPN, and then they said, and by the way, don't forget that the College Game Day crew's also doing the draft on ABC. And I said, are you stinking kidding me? And I turned it over, and I enjoyed it so much more.
Did you really?
Yes.
See,
I
forgot
loved
to
it.
do that.
I loved it.
Flipped it to ABC, and I would much rather see the college guys talking about, because they watch these guys play in college.
Listen, and that's why I loved it so much, because they're like, hey, do you remember when so-and-so did this in this game last year? And so it's Desmond Howard, a Green Bay Packer, great college career at Michigan, Reese Davis, Nick Saban, and Kirk Herbstreit. And those guys have such a good dynamic anyway. They're so good at what they do. But it was so much fun to listen to them break down, hey, this is what these teams are getting, as opposed to Mike Greenberg, who, listen, no shade at Mike Greenberg, but on ESPN, it's kind of...
He's a pro guy.
Yeah, he was talking more of what the possibilities, what the future holds, and I loved hearing what has already happened, and that obviously a lot of these college guys, we know them anyway, but they did such a good job on the ABC broadcast, so highly recommend watching those guys, and I believe they're doing it again tonight for rounds 2 and 3, which again start a little bit earlier, 6 o'clock. That's another thing we got to talk about. I was trying not to snore.
Well, you know,
at the end of the first round.
Do you know what kills me about this is that, they've allotted X number of hours for the first round, and what kills me is that you'll see the pick is in, but there's another 8 minutes goes by, and then they announce it. I'm like, this first round could have been over in about half the time.
They were doing too much, and in the past, you're exactly right. Whenever that pick was in, and you'd hear that dun 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 dun, whatever the sound is, when you would hear that, Roger Goodell about 10 seconds later would come walking up on the stage. It took entirely way too long. So I do hope that's something, it being the what's considered later round, second, third round now, that they will
get it going,
speed it up a little bit for the sake of especially doing 2 rounds tonight, starting 2 hours earlier. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll talk about it definitely next week on the show. But again, rounds 4 through 7 will start at noon on Sunday. So a lot of, Saturday, right?
Right.
Yeah,
it'll end on Saturday.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. We already talked about, obviously, Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans, which I think is a really good pick. I think the Titans hit a home run. Obviously, you think he hit a home run. It could be in a single. We don't know. I think
they made the pick that they should have made at number 1.
They made the pick they should have made. Now, we sat here and we talked about the Falcons. Your thoughts about what the Atlanta Falcons did?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now that I think they had the best first round of any team in the draft. I believe, first of all, one problem that the Falcons have had, and we talked to Bo Morgan yesterday, and he kind of, directed us in that direction as well. Like, listen, the Browns have not had a pass rush. They've not had anyone to pressure the quarterback or sack the quarterback. Well, guess what? They've got two absolute dudes now, and they made a brilliant trade late in the first round to be able to get what was arguably the best defensive player that Tennessee's probably had in the past 2 or 3 years, in my opinion, in edge rusher James Pierce. And that, talk about a game changer. Not to mention, that was your late first-round pick. At 15, they take Georgia great Jalen Walker.
Right.
These are two guys who can come in as rookies and immediately have an impact on that defense that's going to change the dynamic. I feel like Atlanta has a solid linebacking core. They've got good DBs. They might need to go get some help at corner, but outside of that, now that you can pressure the quarterback, it's going to free up the secondary. It's going to free up your linebackers to play a little bit more freely. But what a first round for the Atlanta Falcons. It was a home run trade, in my opinion, and that just completely Raheem Morris looks like a genius to me right now.
You know, when the 2024 college football season began, everyone predicted James Pierce would be a top 10 draft pick. Okay? Obviously, things happened. He dropped. But his potential is still, to me, a really high ceiling.
And he played minimal snaps, too. That's one thing. He did what he did on a low snap count. If he's playing more, and that's something that I think the Falcons are going to work with him on, is maybe conditioning, being able to play a lot more. Obviously, they're going to use him situationally early. He's going to be more of a third down guy that obviously is trying to pressure the quarterback. But as he gets acclimated to the NFL and to the Falcons defense, I can definitely see him being a guy that is situationally improves and continues to grow as a player. And I just think it was a brilliant trading pick to get him. And, this is the first time that the Falcons have ever drafted a Georgia player in the first round.
Isn't that crazy?
First time ever.
You would have thought, being in the backyard, and Georgia's produced
University of Georgia always has
great players.
Yeah.
And listen, they've let them all go to the Philadelphia Eagles, and they've proved that they can flat out play.
Yeah, sure have.
But I would listen. The Falcons historically have been one of the teams that have underachieved on draft day. They achieved pretty darn good. I think the Falcons had a fantastic draft. Got to get your opinion. Did you agree with the Steelers getting Derek Harmon from Oregon instead of maybe going with Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart? Because everyone's saying the Steelers need a quarterback. They need a quarterback. And everyone's now saying, well, maybe they've got Aaron Rodgers in their back pocket.
And that's kind of what that told me. I think they know they're going to make a move. And I'm sure they don't pass over Shedeur Sanders without a couple backup options. And I'm sure they're looking at that Aaron Rodgers as a big one, thinking. Obviously. And I feel like naturally that's going to be the best fit for him at this point. Like, where else could Aaron Rodgers go to right now and slide in like he could in Pittsburgh? I think that's going to happen. I agree with you on that. But even if you're banking on that, I still feel like they've probably got something else in their back pocket that if that even falls through, they know what they're going to do. They know who they're going to go trade with.
Well, the Steelers historically are a team that's always been defense first. But, at some point you have to have that guy under center. I mean, when they had Bradshaw, listen, he took a lot of criticism. I don't know if you know this, when he was younger, that he was dumb. Who was it? Thomas Hollywood Henderson.
He still acts that way. What are you talking about?
He said Terry Bradshaw couldn't spell cat if you spotted him the C and the T.
I love Terry Bradshaw.
That's what Thomas Henderson said. Listen, Bradshaw's got 4 rings.
He does.
And Terry Bradshaw was a great postseason quarterback. Never was dynamic in the regular season, but man, once the postseason began, he was as good as there was. And then we all, Big Ben, how many years was he a top-notch quarterback in Pittsburgh? So I know the Steelers are always one of these defense first, but man, they have won their Super Bowls when they've had a really, really good quarterback. So it makes you wonder what's going on with that franchise. I think that I don't know if they're going to regret this, but I think they've passed over a couple guys that maybe they should have got. Jackson Dart was there. Shedeur Sanders was there. The Steelers decided no against both. Both those guys were available. So that's the one. If I'm a Steelers fan, I'm going, man, I hope you don't regret this.
Yeah, I think they've got a game plan. But listen, there's so much more from last night that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And listen, listeners, we want you to obviously interact with us. Volunteer Ridipest text line 423-749-1013. Feel free to text in, give your opinions on your team and last night's first round, which maybe even what you want to happen tonight in round number 2 or round number 3. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more coverage from last night's first round of the NFL Draft.
The Drive will be back after a quick timeout. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees.
Good afternoon. It's stop and go now on Highway 58 going outbound, hitting some of those traffic lights out towards Harrison. Pretty busy now on 24 here in Moccasin Bend. 24 trying to get up through the ridge, got through our city's been moving fairly decent. We've had a couple of wrecks out here just in the last few minutes. It remains heavy. APD 40 there at Dalton Pike in Cleveland. Blackstone Grill, Chattanooga's new restaurant, now open 3018 Cummings Highway in Lookout Valley. That's Blackstone Grill. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Got an injury that just can't wait? There's no need to delay your care. Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics is excited to announce that our Urgent Ortho Walk-In Clinic is now available on Saturdays at the Gun Barrel Road location. Open from 8 to noon, we're here to treat sprains, strains, fractures, and more. No appointment needed. So skip the long ER wait and get specialized orthopedic care fast. Visit us this Saturday at Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics Urgent Ortho. We're the center for expert care right when you need it. Learn more at sportmed.com.
Strawberries and springtime go hand in hand. Now at Hardees, they come together with a hint of lemon in our famous buttermilk biscuits. Introducing Hardees Strawberry Lemon Biscuits, loaded with berry goodness and drizzled in icing. Served warm from sunrise to supper time. The perfect taste to bring on the sunshine all day long. But hurry, this special strawberry lemon flavor is as fleeting as springtime itself. Hardees, goodness in the making. Available for a limited time. Exclusions may apply by time of day.
This is Thomas Williams with Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. Stop by today and take advantage of Bradley County's largest pre-owned inventory, or visit cleveland-nissan.com, home of the lifetime warranty.
ESPN Cleveland 1013 is powered by Duracell.
Do your legs feel heavy, tired, or achy? Dr. James Gooden at Milligan Vein offers an office treatment that can make you look and feel better, and your procedure is covered by most insurance. Visit milliganvein.com or call Dr. Gooden today at 423-961-5682.
Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
When it comes to Mayfield Dairy Ice Cream, you'll never have a boring bite. Their limited edition ice creams include cherry chocolate chip, banana pudding. Man, banana pudding, Jim, you hear that?
I love it, man.
That's good stuff right there. I'm going to have to try that. And listen, they're inspired by traditional Southern recipes and seasonal favorites. Pick some up today at your local grocery store. Mayfield Ice Cream.
You know, when I hear that term, Southern traditional, traditional Southern recipes, I don't know if you know, the South, we eat horrible.
We do.
It's fried food.
And it's delicious.
It's so good. and that's why the lifespan of the average American man is less in the Southeast than any other part of the country because of our diet. We can't push away from the table, and it's so darn good. But man, we're going to heaven, man, with a big old full belly of some good food.
We're going to be happy. We're going to be happy. And listen, that's not a shot at Mayfield Dairy. Mayfield Dairy's got some healthy stuff too.
It was just that term, this traditional Southern recipes. I'm like, yeah.
Well, when I hear that, I think like blackberry cobbler stuff. So we're going to have to talk to our friend Scotty Mayfield up there at Mayfield Dairy and say, hey, can you get us a blackberry cobbler ice cream? That's right up my alley.
Yeah, banana pudding though, man. I could go for that.
Yeah, I got to try. I got to give that one a try. Hey, so going back, talking about the NFL Draft first round recap from last night. Obviously, first overall pick from Miami, the Tennessee Titans selected quarterback Cam Ward. And then at number 2, it was a little bit of a surprise to both of us, I know. But the Browns made what I feel like another brilliant trade.
Oh, I agree.
They raked in. They absolutely abused Jacksonville with what they're getting. But I feel like, first of all, Jacksonville traded with the Browns for that number 2 spot. Browns only dropped to 5. You're dropping 3 spots and getting the haul that you got from Jacksonville. I think it was a no-brainer because I don't think the Browns were sold. I think if they're sitting there, obviously they take Travis Hunter at number 2, but
the Browns are solid at the wide receiver position.
So it's not a huge need for you at receiver, or for that matter, even in your secondary. They've got good players.
They do.
So they knew they had some leverage, and they were talking to some teams. I'm sure there were multiple teams that were trying to get to that 2 spot. And it just works out great for Jacksonville because, they're giving up several draft picks for Travis Hunter. But Travis Hunter is a guy who's immediately going to come in and be effective on defense. He's going to be effective for Trevor Lawrence to have someone to throw the football to. I think it was smart on both ends, but the Browns just absolutely made out, and they're getting the first pick here in the second round where I hope that they take Shedeur Sanders.
I think they will. And listen, some people are saying, listen, Jacksonville got 2 players. I'm like, you really can't say that. We don't know that Travis Hunter's going to be he won't be a full-time 2-way. I think he'll be a player and a half.
He's too small right now. If they've got to bulk him up a little bit because I know a lot of people, a lot of these GMs are worried about him getting hurt. Playing as much as he does, as hard as he does, he's not a big individual. He only weighs like $185. Like that's not very big in the NFL.
I think, like you said, I think he's going to be full-time defense. I think he'll be part-time offense. And be honest with you, when he does go out there and he's lined up at wide receiver, he may be a decoy as much as anything.
And that's exactly. You remember when the Dallas Cowboys would use Dion on offense? There were 2 situations most of the time when they needed him to run past everybody and make a catch. Listen, we need you to use your speed, run by everybody, and catch a go route. That was one. Or it was, we're going to line you up, put you in motion, and everyone's going to follow you, and we're going to give the ball to someone else.
Michael Irvin's going to be a one-on-one.
Exactly.
He's going to beat him. And the same holds true here with Cleveland with their wide receiver. So when you've got him out there, you got to guard him because he's proven that the guy can flat out catch anything in the general area. So he is a threat. And yes, they will throw to him from time to time, but he's going to be out there. But his number 1 priority to me is to learn how to play defensive back in the National Football League, where every wide receiver you go against is a stud.
Yeah, and I think he's already, as a receiver, at that level. I do. So I do think they're going to use him, obviously sparingly on offense when they need to, but defense at that level, like you just said, is where there's going to be a learning curve for him.
Yeah. Every rookie defensive back gets burned multiple times. Every single one of them. Even Dion got burned because there's so many things that you don't know how to do at that level. So the learning curve is very, very big for a defensive back, especially a rookie. But I'll promise you, if he stays healthy, by the time he's in his 2nd, 3rd year, we're looking at a potential Pro Bowl guy or an All-Pro guy at DB for Jacksonville. So I do believe that's going to be his primary
and a special teams threat.
Yeah, absolutely. Punt return, kickoff return, especially with the dynamic kickoff return that the NFL has. But what's your opinion about that, by the way?
I don't like it.
I don't either. And
I'm a traditionalist.
I hope college football never goes to it, but it worries me that the college football will say, well, we need to protect our guys. Let's do that dynamic kickoff just like they do in the NFL. And it's
not a fan.
It's kind of like putting the guy on second base in Major League Baseball in extra innings.
The ghost runner.
It's a gimmicky thing. I don't like gimmicky things in professional sports, but anyway. So I do believe though he will be an effective kickoff returner and punt returner.
Yeah. Once again, let us hear your thoughts. Text into the Volunteer Ridipest text line at 423-749-1013, and we'll get to your comments live on air with you today. So let's go ahead and we'll wrap up our first round coverage with this. I do feel like when we're talking our area, Titans, Falcons, great first round.
Absolutely, for sure. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I know we're way far away from Las Vegas, but I love that Ashton Jeanty to the Raiders. I think that's a great pick for them. listen, Tom Brady, he's got his hands all over that franchise now. He knows as a quarterback what's the most important thing: to have a great running back, because it takes the pressure off. And Ashton Genty has shown that, he's a good blocker when he doesn't get the ball, that he can pick up a blitzing linebacker or somebody like that he can help that quarterback. And he's pretty good at catching the ball out of the backfield too. So I think that was a tremendous pick by the Las Vegas Raiders.
Hey, I said one more thing, so I lied. Shamar Stewart, Cincinnati Bengals pick. How did you feel about that? You're a Bengals guy.
Listen, the guy hasn't had... He had 3.5 sacks in his whole career.
Yeah, that's one thing that
I wasn't a fan of that pick, to be honest with you.
But he is a physical specimen.
A lot of physical specimens have not panned out in NFL.
Yeah, that's true.
I want production, not the first guy coming off the bus.
You don't want Brian Bosworth,
right? I want a guy that's got production. 3.5 sacks in a college career. I mean, I've seen guys get 3.5 sacks in a game.
And listen, so the College Game Day crew addressed that. They're like, that's kind of concerning, but he's a guy that, whenever he got to Texas A&M, it was a different scheme for him, and he was it was more pro style defense, and so I don't think it was a great pick by any means, but hopefully it's one where he ends up making them look really smart.
Well, and I do like the Buffalo Bills pick of Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky. I think that's a good pick. I know you were high on this kid, and I think that was a pretty good pick.
I'm glad you brought that up. So for those of you that might not have watched the draft or might not know who he was the young man that was they have what I guess it's the green room,
yeah.
The staging area where the players are sitting on these nice comfortable couches with coffee tables and all the hats of all the teams in front of them. And he was right by the tunnel where every single player had to walk by to get to the tunnel to walk down on stage. And Maxwell Hairston, the corner from Kentucky, every single guy that was drafted in front of him, and I'm going to go ahead and remind you, he was drafted at pick number 30. Mm-hmm. Every single guy that walked by him, he dapped him up. He was shaking their hand, high-fiving them, hugging them, and he had the biggest smile on his face. That right there, I was like, dude, I hope this guy gets drafted in this round. I hope he's not the one sitting there by himself. And it got to that point when you're at 30, there weren't many other guys left in that green room. Him and his family, they're kind of in there by themselves, but when he was finally picked, you could just tell he was just full of joy.
Yeah, I like his attitude. He has a good attitude, and he's a very, very sure of himself. He's got a lot of positivity. And guys like that, listen, I don't know what kind of pro he's going to be. He was a really, really good corner there at UK, and I was happy for him. Listen, it was a fun. It wasn't the most memorable first round draft because of the lack of quarterbacks, but it was intriguing. And the last thing we said when we went off there yesterday is like, as soon as there's a trade, everything changes. Literally every mock draft was completely blown up when that trade happened before pick 2. There were very few mock drafts that had it going anywhere similar to this. And honestly, there weren't hardly any trades until the second pick of the draft, and then later, I think 25th.
There was a plethora of trades there at the very end.
Yeah, but the fact that trade happened early on, it changed everything after that. So these mock drafts, man, they were wrong. And man, I'll tell you, Mel Kiper, he was absolutely beside himself when Shedeur Sanders was still available at the end of the first round.
Yeah, he was frustrated.
He was going off. He said these people were making the biggest mistake. And he was using all these comparisons of, well, Tom Brady was pick number 199. I'm like, man, you're talking about the GOAT. We all know that most quarterbacks drafted that late are not going to pan out. We all know that Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, and there's a few others, but normally your quarterbacks that are drafted anywhere after the third round don't pan out. Okay, there are exceptions, but if you're not drafted in the first or second round, you're usually not the guy.
Yeah, a lot of those quarterbacks that are drafted specifically after the third round are quarterback room guys. They're guys
right.
to help carry the clipboard, to provide some depth on the roster.
Yeah.
And listen, one guy that when you use that comparison that I think of is Ken Dorsey from Miami, who's a great coach now in his own right.
National championship quarterback.
Yeah, won a title down there in 2001 with Miami, and he was one of those guys that was a solid college quarterback, and you rooted for him. Not the biggest guy, not the fastest guy, but he just had some grit to him. Well, he went in, and I'm trying to remember when he got picked, but he was a career backup guy, and he had some opportunities. He started, and he was a guy that was a great fill-in. He was never going to hold down a job as a starter, but he established himself and got I'm trying to remember, I think he ended up playing close to 12 years or something crazy.
Brian Hoyer is a guy that is that guy right now in the NFL. He's been on so many teams, holds a clipboard, makes millions of dollars. He doesn't work hard. Listen, I know that he works harder at practice, but during games, it's all about giving advice to the starter and saying, hey, here's what I'm seeing from my vantage point. You need to watch this defensive end, how he's doing things. These guys are valuable, but man, he's not hurting on Monday morning. These guys wake up, everyone else is in the ice bath, and he's like, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, man.
I lied. Ken Dorsey played 9 seasons of professional football, and a couple of those were in the Canadian Football League. But it seemed like he was around forever.
But how many games did he start? Probably a handful.
Yeah, when guys were hurt. Yeah,
when guys were hurt. But he was never the guy. And so, but you got guys like that forever. They're backup. They're but they're valuable. But man, what a great living! What a great living for. And listen, those guys end up being really good coaches because they're like a coach as an active player because they're learning everything, they're watching things, the film study, and so they're giving advice to the more talented quarterback, but they're becoming coaches as a result of their time on the sidelines. So, like I said, Ken Dorsey is a great example of someone that learned by his time on the sidelines, and now he's a really good defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator.
Yeah, absolutely. Is he still in Buffalo?
He was last year. I don't know if he's moved. I mean, I don't keep up with
doing pretty good with Josh Allen, I'd say.
Exactly.
That's a guy that is an offensive coordinator's dream. So again, tonight, NFL Draft rounds 2 and 3 live from Green Bay. You'll be able to listen to that coverage right here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. And that second round starts at 6 o'clock. And then Saturday, rounds 4 through 7 start at noon. And again, I'm going to be tuning in on ABC just because it's a college game day.
I'm glad you reminded me of that because I totally blew it. I remember them saying that, and I'm like, I need to flip to ABC, and I just forgot, and I never did. I left it on ESPN. I turned it to the NFL Network for a little bit, which it's a little different, but yeah. I love the NFL.
I even text a couple buddies just listening to the game day crew. I was like, man, I really wish it was a college football Saturday.
Oh, my gosh.
Being able to hear those guys, it just pumps you up. And obviously, the recent news of Lee Corso calling it a career, it's been emotional for not just the guys on the game day crew and staff there, but like people like me that grew up watching Lee Corso put on the headgear every Saturday.
Yeah, Lee Corso, of course, all the game day stuff he did. And then, of course, Dick Vitale on the college basketball side of things where, Dick Vitale has had a lot of health issues. We all know that Lee Corso had a stroke a few years ago. That's why he's his speech is a little slurred at times. And you see Kurt Herbstreit having to help this guy out left and right all the time. But, you see the end of an era like a Lee Corso or Dick Vitale, and it's sad. It really is. And I know some people that are not fans of, what's the guy on CBS, the CBS college football, the analyst. He's going to hang it up after this year. Brad Nessler and
Vern Lundquist,
Vern Lundquist was the play-by-play guy. Gary Danielson. Danielson is going to hang it up. 2025 is going to be his last year. So you see these guys that have been around forever, love them or hate them, they're part of the fabric of collegiate athletics and and football. And when you see these guys hanging them up, you're like, man, that's a tough one to swallow because you've grown up watching these guys for a quarter of a decade, 25 years or so. So it's tough to watch, but I'm glad to see Lee Corso is going out on his own terms, if you want to call it that. I'm sure there was some hinting around that, Lee, things aren't happening here. But it's good he's going to go to week 1. He's going to put that headgear on one last time, and then that's right into the sunset.
I do wish he would have made an appearance here at the draft putting on a cheese head. That would have been pretty cool.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, they missed an opportunity there with that. I don't know how Lee's doing. Hopefully he's okay. But that would have been pretty neat just because of those Green Bay Packer cheese heads are so iconic. And, who's made a headgear more iconic than Lee Corso?
Yeah. The first time he ever did it, he was at an Ohio State game. He put the Buckeye Brutus head on, and there's a real big rumor that he's going to do the Texas-Ohio State game in the horseshoe, and obviously if he does that, I could envision him putting on the Brutus headgear one last time. But we don't know because Florida State's also playing a game that night.
Well, so Miami and Notre Dame are playing that night as well.
You've got some pretty good options out there. We don't know what's going to happen, but you just kind of think the full circle thing, if you will.
Yeah, that would be pretty neat. So second round tonight, first pick number 33 overall, Cleveland Browns. You and I both have kind of predicted that Shedeur Sanders is going to be the one that they go with. They've got another pick right after that. They've got the fourth pick of the second round. So Cleveland Browns are going to be, I'm excited about it being a Browns guy. And then the Tennessee Titans have the third pick in the second round.
Well, I tell you, it's fun to watch. Obviously, the headline guys are the first round, but man, you can get some great value in the second, third round. Guys and a lot of it has to do with guys that were maybe dinged up a little bit. They didn't have their last year in collegiate football wasn't as productive as they would have liked. But a lot of these guys are overcoming injury, and if they make a full recovery, then you can get a real steal out of these guys that are still out there. You got first round talent, but they've dropped to the second round. Happens all the time.
Yeah, definitely hope that Shedeur Sanders is going off the board with that first pick by the Cleveland Browns here in the second round. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to cover a little Atlanta Braves baseball. They're going to be back in action tonight. Excited. It lined up really good for us here on the drive with the off day yesterday and it being the first round of the NFL draft. So appreciate the timing for the travel day from the Atlanta Braves. But with that, when we come back, might talk a little more NFL. Definitely going to talk some Braves. But again, text in. Really wanting to get you guys interacting with us on the Volunteer Ridipest text line 423-749-1013. We'll be right back here on ESPN Cleveland 1013.
The Drive will be back after a quick timeout. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees.
This is Thomas Williams with Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. Stop by today and take advantage of Bradley County's largest pre-owned inventory, or visit cleveland-nissan.com, home of the lifetime warranty.
Cleveland Tire Center, locally owned and operated for over 45 years. Cleveland Tire, your one-stop auto care shop in Cleveland. North Lee Highway, where the name says it all.
You're listening to Amber and Ian on ESPN Cleveland 1013. Game night is coming up. The ESPN Cleveland 1013 lineup is supplied by Wholesale Supply Group. WholesaleSupply.us.
Do you suffer from unsightly leg veins? Are your legs turning brown or swelling? Do your legs feel heavy, tired, or achy? Do you have restless legs or leg cramps disturbing your sleep? These symptoms are signs of bad veins. Dr. James Gooden at Milligan Vein offers an office treatment that can make you look and feel better, and your procedure is covered by most insurance. Find more information online at milliganvein.com or call Dr. Gooden today at 423-961-5682 and get rid of those bad veins.
Hey, this is Eric Gardner with Volunteer Ridipest. Spring is here and so are the mosquitoes. If you and your family are being bitten every time you go outside, we can help. With our Mosquito Guard system, we can eliminate these biting, irritating insects and take your yard back. We can also eliminate fleas and ticks. We're so confident in our treatments, we offer a 100% money-back guarantee, so you take no risk. Call right now and mention this ad and receive your first treatment half off. Call 698-7205. That's 698-7205 right now, or visit us online at volpest.com.
Google Volunteer Ridipest. No bug will survive. Call 698-7205.
Hi, this is Jay and Brittany Hagee from Alon Planning Partners. What do you think your biggest expense in retirement will be? Healthcare? Housing cost? Inflation? This may come as a surprise, but it's actually taxes. Most every one of you listening has an IRA, a 401k, or some type of tax-qualified account, which means all of that money isn't yours. You have a partner in those accounts. It's Uncle Sam.
So the real question is, how do you keep more of your hard-earned savings in your pocket? We at Alon Planning Partners have a solution. We created a tax calculator just for you. Go to exchangemytaxbill.com. Again, visit exchangemytaxbill.com, input some basic information, and you'll see your tax liability through retirement. We can help you craft a plan that will give you peace of mind to and through your retirement years.
So visit exchangemytaxbill.com to take the next step. Again, exchangemytaxbill.com will help you craft a tax plan to help bring clarity to your financial future.
Investment advisory services offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Your welcome back to the Drive, 24 hours sports coverage. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
Welcome back to the Drive here on ESPN Cleveland. Hope everyone out there is having a good Friday. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Hey, by the way, Duracell in Cleveland is now hiring mechanical skilled technicians for $22 to $27 per hour. Excellent benefits beginning day one. Medical, dental, and vision insurance, paid vacation, holiday pay, 401k tuition reimbursement, and more. Apply at Duracell.com. That's Duracell.com. And of course, we've got a big weekend ahead of us as far as the NFL draft will go on tonight and into Saturday. And then we've got Major League Baseball heating up again. The Braves out there in Arizona playing the Diamondbacks, a team that's good but not great. So the Braves, listen, you got to start having a little bit more success on the road, and this is a good opportunity for the Braves to get on a good start. Plus, they got their ace going tonight.
Yeah, once again, Braves coverage on the Drive brought to you by Mayfield Dairy. We've been pumping up that ice cream all week. Very excited. I'm not sitting here with any today. Jim called me out the other day for sitting here eating ice cream during the show.
Neapolitan, yeah, he had a big tub there with the strawberry, the vanilla, and the chocolate.
What's the movie with the kid? He's got the food all over his face. I can't remember what it is or what I'm thinking of right now.
I don't know.
It's been a long week.
I still envision George Costanza at the U.S. Open, Tennis Open, with the ice cream all over his face. And yeah, you remind me of George Costanza.
There we go. Yeah, same hairstyle, right? No.
No, that would be me.
Yeah, but hey, listen, as Jim said, Braves starting that 3-game set with the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight. First pitch, listen, it's going to work out for us to watch some NFL draft. And then at 9:40, while I'm going to be trying to hold my eyelids open, first pitch, Chris Sale on the bump for the Atlanta Braves. And Arizona has, pretty solid pitchers. Zach Gallen on the hill for them. That game will be on Mix 104.1 and ESPN Cleveland. And as always, presented by Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. Saturday, the Braves, Grant Holmes getting the start, and Sunday, Spencer Schwellenbach. So we've got a good rotation spot for the Braves as they head out to Phoenix to get that series started with the Diamondbacks. And listen, you talked about the Diamondbacks being good. They're one of those teams, like, when you look at that NL West, that's a tough division, minus the Rockies.
It's the best division in the National League without
the Diamondbacks
question.
Are playing good baseball, and obviously you've got the Dodgers and the Padres, who we saw what they did to us to get everyone freaked out at the beginning of the season. Everyone in Braves country was, pulling their hair out, kind of like George Costanza. You remember how he used to do that? But so luckily the Braves have shown promise getting it back together, and one of the reasons is Sean Murphy. Everyone's been talking about just how different he is from last year to this year, and he's a guy that was kind of across the league known as one of the top 5, one of the best catchers in the game. Last year, everyone's like, man, this guy's regressed. He's not hitting the ball. He's hurt a lot. He looks like a man on a mission this year.
Right now, I know we're really early, but, he'd probably be the guy that would be the starting catcher for the National League and All-Star game.
I agree.
Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in May and June. You've got 2 full months to either continue to do this or you slide back and you start regressing. Hopefully that's not the case. But Travis d'Arnaud was the guy for the Braves for the last few years, and I think they saw enough out of Murphy. They felt like this guy can be our regular everyday catcher, and he's done wonders so far. He started the season off on the IL, came in. He missed the first week, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
He's come ever since he's come in, though. He's been probably the most consistent guy. Now, Austin Riley has really started to hit the ball. If he gets hot, he can carry this team for a good while. And we all know that Ronald Acuna Jr. probably sometime in May is going to come back.
If we can keep him off X, keep him off what was previously known as Twitter, and just get him playing baseball, oh my goodness, guy's going to be dangerous.
And if Matt Olson can get back close to what he was in 2023, if he can hit maybe 40 homers, we're not asking him to hit 52 home runs like he did then, but if he can get close to 40 and be a guy that he's a really good defensive first baseman. A lot of people overlook that part of his game. He's really good defensively. He's got tremendous power, and he can go the opposite direction. He doesn't have to pull everything. He can hit home runs to dead center and to the opposite field with I'm going to say with a lot of ease, but he can do it. So if you get those guys going, this Braves team offensively can be dynamic. They really can.
There's one guy who's really struggling right now.
Michael Harris?
No, that we've got to get going. Michael Harris is one that can definitely get some stuff together, but Ozzie
oh my gosh,
Ozzie's struggling, man.
He is.
He's making me worry a little bit.
Yeah, and the thing about him is he's not very patient at the plate.
He's swinging at everything right now.
He is swinging at that first pitch where it could be in the dirt, a foot and a half outside. He's 0-1. It seemed like every at bat he's in the hole. And I know that, I'm not. Who are we to say? But man, he doesn't look like the Ozzie Albies we're used to seeing. I think he's lost his confidence a little bit.
He's hitting 234 right now, and listen, he's a guy that's shown that. And he's got 4 home runs on the season, but he's kind of ran into those home runs.
Yeah.
As we've said, he's just really been free swinging, and he's a guy that consistently is a 20, 25 home run kind of guy, and does it from both sides of the plate. I don't know, and I appreciate switch hitting so much. I think it's something that we're seeing less and less of, and I hope it doesn't get to a point where they try to get him to just focus on one side. I know a few years ago they tried to do that with him. They had talked about it, and he was dealing with some injury that kind of forced him to do it there for a while. But he's a guy that I want him to keep hitting from both sides of the plate because we've seen what he's capable of.
I think being a switch hitter is such an advantage. You want to be able that ball coming in on you instead of going away from you. And obviously, when you're facing a lefty, you're batting right-handed. When you're facing a righty, you're batting left-handed. You have an advantage. Ellie De La Cruz is a switch hitter. Chipper Jones, switch hitter. Mickey Mantle, Pete Rose, those guys. Eddie Murray, great switch hitters throughout the years. Here's a good trivia question. Who was the last American League most valuable player that was a switch hitter? American League. It's a little bit of a trick question.
Hey, we got our buddy Mike Lee over here. I wonder if Mike knows the answer to that. He's our producer today.
I was not listening because I was looking at what I have to do next. What was the question?
The last American League most valuable player that was a switch hitter. And I will tell you, it is a trick question.
Yeah, comedically, I want to say Johnny Bench, but
no,
that's not the answer.
No, 1971, Vida Blue with the Oakland A's pitcher, but he was a switch hitter also.
Vida Blue
was he was Cy Young Award winner.
I never would have got that.
Cy Young Award winner, also the American League MVP. And when was the last time you saw a pitcher was a switch hitter? But Vida Blue is a switch hitter.
That's wild.
So that's a great trivia question.
Was that with Oakland?
Oakland, 1971.
Yeah,
sure was.
Wow, pretty cool. Yeah, hey, listen, so again, Braves getting it going tonight with the Diamondbacks. You'll be able to catch that game pre- and post-game. I'm pretty sure no one's told me otherwise. I don't know how far the draft coverage is going to go tonight for us here on ESPN Cleveland, but I presume we'll be able, 9:40, get the Braves game either on ESPN Cleveland 101.3 or Mix, one of the two.
Hey, I'm going to change it up just for a minute and talk to Mike a little bit. Mike, today was a big day here at our facility because we've got an oldie station that this man right here put over 600 songs into this playlist, and it's amazing.
It's a great playlist.
Great.
The station that we had for years, Fiesta 99.1, it just underperformed financially, and it's a business. And I suggested an oldies format because, the median age in Bradley County is 55. And so they did a little research. I did some research. They did a homework check on my research and said, yeah, go ahead and put together a demo and let's hear it. Mm-hmm. Well, I did that, and that turned into about a month and a half of building this radio station from the ground up. And we launched it today. If you love the 60s and 70s, you're going to love it. Yep. Absolutely love it. I'm doing the morning show from 6 to 9. I got a good buddy by the name of Chuck Geiger I worked with in San Diego years ago.
That's who I heard today.
He's doing middays, early afternoons. And a guy that I worked with in Phoenix years ago, Big Ron O'Brien, is doing nights and overnights. So it's a whole lot of fun, up-tempo. All of them top 5 hits.
Great music, man. I listened to it today, and I every song I like. Oh yeah, that's good. Oh, that's a good. Oh, that's a good one.
That's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
And so 99.1, put it on there. Put it on your preset. You got to have ESPN mix and the oldies, Cleveland oldies, right?
Cleveland's oldies 99.1. Yes.
Yep. I'm going to go ahead and call Steve Hartline out here. So on our way to Walker Valley High School this morning, we got the Morris carpool going on, and my dad, my son were in the car, and we're listening to Mix Mornings to get our news fix and know what's going on in the community. Yeah, and I flip it over to 99.1 to Cleveland's oldies, and we're like, okay, hey, this is a good song here. Well, that song goes off, another good one comes on, and I flip it back over in the middle of the song, and I wish I could remember what song it was, but I flip it back over to...
It was probably an oldie.
It definitely was.
Yeah.
But
it's real good.
I flip it back over to Mix 104.1 to catch, them coming out of the commercial break to hear what was going on, and my dad says, "What are you doing? Turn it back." So
I love your dad.
So Steve just lost a listener.
Yeah, he lost a listener to Cleveland's oldies. So, but there was some good music you guys had rolling, and so we for the past couple days have actually been listening to it, and I love hey, we're currently under construction. That was pretty cool. But the playlist is absolutely phenomenal. A lot of good soft rock from the '60s that I've always liked, and I grew up on that kind of music because of my dad.
And we've got the hippie music too. I mean, from the '60s, the San Francisco Mamas and the Papas.
Oh yeah,
Derek and the Dominoes.
You got Little Richard.
Yeah, we actually do.
There you go.
We have some old Elvis as well.
Yeah.
I mean, pre-'60s.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But the great thing is we're bringing back the '60s music that people just don't play anymore because it doesn't research well. And we were like, let's just break the rules, put on a fun radio station.
Going back to the '60s because Mike Lee is a flower child. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. I was born in '60.
There you go.
Grew up with all the '70s music. And the cool thing about it is we're bringing back songs you haven't heard in forever.
Yeah.
And they've got a home here now.
That's awesome.
You got that Greenbaum with the Spirit in the Sky.
I absolutely do.
I love that song. Man.
Absolutely do. Of course, you've got a ton of Beatles, Beach Boys, Rolling Stones. You got to have that.
Got to have it, man.
Tons of Motown.
Hey, so I've got a question for you. Around the holiday season, I know on Mix 104.1, Steve goes straight Christmas music. I know some people aren't all in for the entire month. I love it. My family loves the Christmas music. On Cleveland's Oldies 99.1, when it's Christmas time, are we going to get some Nat King Cole and some Bing Crosby?
We'll play some of that stuff.
That's my stuff,
the thing is, I doubt we're going to go full on because that's a mixed thing.
Yeah.
It's a mixed tradition.
My mom.
Well, when it's December 24th, 25th.
Yeah, absolutely. The week of Christmas, we'll do it too.
Love those oldie Christmas
songs.
songs.
Andy Williams Christmas album.
Yes.
Come on, man. That's some good stuff, brother.
And that was another thing we did on Mix. I looked at the library and I was like, why are we playing some of this just cruddy Christmas music? And I did the same thing.
Yeah, I know you spent a lot of time on that.
Christmas hits. put them all, like the top 150 songs.
Yep.
This is all we're playing. We're going to play them over and over again. And people loved it.
And you know what I love about the 60s and 70s? There were some great one-hit wonders.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. And you're like, why only one? But, man, some of these people, they were one-hit wonders, but, man, what a one hit they had.
Every hour we do a oldies 99 one-hit wonder every hour. Heard that. And so you're going to hear those at least once an hour.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
You knocked it out of the park, Mike.
Yeah, if you don't mind, forget about Steve. Listen to me 6 to 9 on Monday morning. You won't regret it, I promise.
Oh man, we had to get that in before.
No,
the show.
I'm absolutely glad you did.
Yeah, I love it. I'm a big fan. When Mike was telling us about what he was doing, he was passionate about it. Every day Mike be over there putting in more songs and this and that, and I was like, man, when's this gonna happen? When's this gonna happen? And they said the other day it was gonna be on at 6 a.m. today. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm there. And I was, and I've preset it in my car, and I'm a fan.
Thank you so much for bringing it up. It was honestly a labor of love, and I had a blast this morning.
Yeah. So
it's been a long day, but I had a blast this morning.
Yeah. I want to give you guys just a quick moment of history lesson pertaining to 99-1. Back during the early Fiesta days, obviously Walker Valley football broadcast on Fiesta 99.1, we would transition over to Sports 99.1, and Jacob Mason and I call the Walker Valley games. And the very first game that we did on Fiesta, once it became Fiesta, I opened our intro. I opened in Spanish, and I pre-planned it as it kind of joking around, and over my headset, our board op, and I believe, I'm trying to remember who it was. It might have been Elijah Kyle, but he said, "Hey, they said don't ever do that again." So that was the opening of Fiesta football.
The deal was, and we're still going to have Walker Valley. The deal was this morning, the first song I started playing was a 74 number one hit called Era Stew by Mocedades, and it was totally Spanish.
Oh, how funny.
And then you hear the sound of a record coming off the turntable. I was like, we quit playing Spanish a month ago. Anyway,
that's great.
It was a lot of fun.
So just for old time's sake, around Christmas, like I said, we can play some Feliz Navidad, right?
Oh,
absolutely.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
That's awesome, man. Man, I can't wait.
Hey, so kind of diving back into the sports world a little bit, did you hear the news out of the NCAA Division II football? What's going on?
Yeah, they've gone from 28 teams to 32. And I don't know if you know this.
Expanding the playoffs.
Expanding the playoffs by 4. Nobody gets a bye, so the 1 seed, the 2 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed, we're all getting a bye. Now nobody gets a seed. But the Division II does something that no other division does, and I don't know if they could continue to do it, and I don't like it. Once you got to the semifinals, they reseeded.
Yeah, I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that.
I like a true bracket to where, hey, if you get to play a lesser team because they upset someone real,
you've earned that right.
That's so big. But I hope they stop doing that. The Division II has done the reseeding stuff, and I'm not a fan of that at all. But yeah, they go from 28 to 32 now.
So one thing that they also do with this expansion, and I do think this is really neat, but what it does, it gives automatic bids. There's 16 conferences in NCAA Division II. Every single conference now will get an automatic bid.
That's good.
So every conference will be represented. You'll not have a conference that's left out of the party. And I think that's really neat. And that kind of, if you look at, and of course, we always talk about the college football playoff, and we all think we know how to fix it or make it better. It doesn't matter what we do every single year. Everyone has an opinion on that. I really think they're onto something, though, in D2, because having every conference represented, having a big enough playoff like that to do that, and I feel like when you're talking big boy football, D1 playoffs, outside of probably the top 5, 6, really pushing it the top 8, there's not a lot of teams that can really compete for a national title.
Right. I don't know if you know this, but the FCS level, there are 3 conferences that don't participate. You got the MEAC, the SWAC, and the Ivy League. But the Ivy League is going to join the party in 2025, which I think is great. So you got people like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, schools that have never been. They're actually allowed to play in the postseason.
Columbia, Cornell.
What kills me is that the Ivy League wouldn't let their football, but all their other sports could play in the postseason.
I've never understood it.
Well, it never made sense. And finally, the football, I guess the coaches and whatnot, they said, come on, man, it's time to let us play, get in the postseason play. So good for the Ivy League. But I would love to see the SWAC and the MEAC join the club too. But they play in that Bayou Classic, which televised on NBC, and they say they're making more money doing that than their teams playing in the postseason. So I guess we'll never see that. Well, I say you never say never, but I like the fact that you got everyone going or participating at the Division III and now the Division II, and maybe one day at the Division I FCS level we'll have all the conferences that join the party as well.
Yeah, I think that's really neat that the Ivy League is now involved. And listen, you talk about the origins of college football.
That's where it began, man.
Princeton and Yale were
Harvard
were the Alabamas and the Notre Dames of the world. They were big time, and so it's going to be neat to kind of see some tradition as far as postseason and being able to play for some titles. Some of these teams you talk about all-time national titles. If Yale can get back in the mix of that, winning a title, it counts, right? I would say it does.
We talked so much about the home stadiums. We saw playoff games at Notre Dame Stadium, Ohio Stadium, at the University of Texas, and at Penn State. And I think that's so cool. Now we could have a playoff game at the Yale Bowl or at Harvard Stadium, which is so cool. What I love having home stadium or the home team hosting a game instead of going to a neutral site. I love those playoff games this past year. Notre Dame Stadium hosting a playoff game. That was awesome.
Listen, I'm getting chills you talking about it right now. I was so excited for that. And you talk about one of the all-time cathedrals of college football. You just named like 4 of them.
Yeah, the Notre Dame Stadium's on my bucket list. It's
awesome.
I've been to Notre Dame, but during the summer, so obviously there was no football going on. I've seen the outside of it. Now it's been expanded since I was up there.
Yeah, it's even better from the last time that I went. And it's something that I plan on trying to get up there sooner than later for sure.
When I went up there, I think this place only sat something like 59,000 people. So it holds like close to 80,000.
What year were you there?
Oh, this was in the late 80s.
Okay, yeah. So
this was in the late 80s.
They expanded again in 92, so it was under 70,000.
When I went to Notre Dame Stadium, it's how it looked when Rudy was filmed.
Yeah.
That's how it looked. Not even 60,000.
Yeah, they expanded right after. So the original outside of the stadium is now an interior wall of the stadium. It's really neat. But yeah, that's one thing. I'm excited for the possibility of another expansion of the college football playoff, and I never thought I would say that. And I'm talking about the big teams. I'm talking about the SEC, the Big 10, Big 12, ACC, and what is it? The Pac-2 now, right?
Yeah, Pac-2. But there's some schools like Boise State's moving to the Pac-12 next year.
Yeah, that's
not in 2025, but 2026. So the Pac-12 is barely hanging on.
Yeah,
but they're expanding. They're getting some more teams to join up.
Yeah, they need to. It needs to be around. And I would not be the least bit surprised at some point to see some of these teams that left. And I'm not talking
like Cal and Stanford.
Yeah, that went ACC. That was a financial decision purely. I would not be surprised to see one of them say, you know what, hey, the Pac-12 can offer us something, and it's going to be a little bit better than what it was. Let's go back.
Yeah, I could see that too. And listen, we all know the grant of rights deal with the ACC is what it is. But as the years go on, that payout becomes less and less and less. So let's say by the year 2030. You could see teams leaving the ACC, and who knows? Listen, Lord knows what the future collegiate athletics is going to be.
Yeah, and talking about the craziness of the ACC, SMU is an ACC team now. Yep. I got a really cool story that I ran across. So SMU, back before they're in the ACC, they're banned. This is a really, really funny story. While they're in their traditional diamond M formation, which is they march out at 50-yard line and they do the diamond M. It's really cool. Well, it was 1999. It was a halftime show at their rival TCU. the Horned Frogs.
Oh yeah, and they hate each other.
So all the band members that were in that Diamond M had ryegrass seeds in their pockets, and they pulled it out and dropped it onto the grass, onto the turf. So later on in the winter,
when the Bermuda went dormant,
so in the winter, the field went completely dormant except for those ryegrass seeds that came through in the Diamond M logo.
Now think about this.
Is
We're
that not
talking
awesome?
About SMU, which stands for Southern Methodist University, against TCU,
Texas
Christian. Hey.
That's a big time rivalry.
Listen, it is a big rivalry. It's a great rivalry, and I love doing stuff, little things like that. I love. Oh, that's awesome. He's just showing me a picture of it. You got the ryegrass going through the dormant Bermuda, and it's as plain as day. And they got away with it, and nobody knows about it for several months until the grass goes dormant.
That's one of those things too that you can get rid of that ryegrass so quick, so it's harmless. One thing that really bothered me as a sports fan, you remember years back when down at is it Toomer's Corner?
Yeah, the guy that killed the oak trees.
Yeah, he sprayed all the trees with herbicide.
Yeah,
and nearly destroyed that.
They cut all those trees down. They had to replant. They replanted them with mature trees.
Yeah,
they weren't like little seedlings. But those trees, all of them died.
Yeah, it's really sad too. Like the guy that did it, that's a whole nother story for another day. But he served some serious jail time over it.
Because he's passed away now.
Yeah, and he obviously ultimately regretted it. But that's how intense that Iron Bowl rivalry, Alabama-Auburn, kind of gets, and fans kind of lose perspective of why we love sports and what we do it for.
That guy that did it was a former Texas State trooper. Believe it or not.
And he was a regular caller to the Paul Feinbaum show.
Yeah, he was.
In fact, he admitted it on the air on the Paul Feinbaum show.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's one thing. And since then, I think Paul Feinbaum, obviously we carry him here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. He's done a much better job of not condoning or encouraging. Back at the time, it was a free-for-all on his show. He's done a much better job not encouraging things like that. And you'll get some rowdy callers calling into Feinbaum, but he's a little bit more tempered now to where he's like, now come on, we do this for the love of sport. And
that guy got mad because somebody put a Cam Newton jersey on Bear Bryant's statue outside of Bryant-Denny Stadium, and he was livid.
And as Michael Jordan said, he took that personal.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you gotta love sports, man. You just gotta love sports. Sports and oldies songs, man.
Listen, hey, that sounds like a garage on a Friday night. Maybe with a cold beverage in your hand.
Absolutely.
But hey, so I say I'm thinking we go till about 6:15 today. So we got a few minutes here.
Okay.
We've been doing some overtime stuff. We've had some fun conversations.
Well, we got bumped off of Monday.
That's right. That's right. So hopefully we might be running into draft coverage. So maybe we do need to get off here.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
it does start at 6. So yeah. The Browns have probably already made that pick.
Has Shador been drafted yet? Anybody? We're in our own world over here.
You're sweating now. Oh my gosh. Oh, hopefully the Browns haven't done.
I'm not sweating. I'm just packing my bags. This might be my last show. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But hey, listen, fun show today, and we're used to jumping off at 6 o'clock on Wednesdays, but we've been doing some overtime this week, and we really enjoy it. Just again because our love of sport.
Oh, by the way, I want to remind everyone on Tuesday we're going to have a guest. It's a lady that specializes in NIL. Listen, I'm ignorant when it comes to the NIL world, and she does this stuff. Okay, and so we're going to have her on. Her name is Christy Dosh. We're going to have her on Tuesday at 5:15. So we want to make sure everyone out there listening, tune in on Tuesday for sure. If you're interested in how this NIL works, she can really educate. She'll be educating me because this stuff is way over my head. Yeah, way over my head.
I'm really looking forward to that because I know we've got a lot of listeners and people here locally that, especially when it came to the whole Nico Iamaleava situation, were kind of asking some questions that I was even diving into myself, like wondering, like, now you're looking at his brother Madden in the situation at Arkansas where they're requesting repayment.
Right.
And when you talk contracts, if it's on the paper and their signatures, that's pretty binding right there.
So we're going to find out a lot from her on Tuesday, so that'll be fun. I
Really
can't wait.
looking forward to that.
Yeah, and then of course on Monday we'll rehash the entire draft and see who we think is the winners and losers. And of course, we got the Braves, and so we got a lot of stuff to look forward to on Monday for sure.
That's absolutely right. Once again, you've been listening to The Drive here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. For Jim Gum, Mike Lee, I'm Andy Morris. Join us again next week on Monday as we break down all that stuff Jim just said.
Your new home for 24-hour sports coverage. ESPN Cleveland 101.3. It's time for a Don Ledford of Cleveland traffic update on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Don Ledford Chevrolet Buick GMC, located on North Lee Highway in Cleveland. Or visit donledford.com for details. Don Ledford, where we say yes. It's on time.